Oda loves two things: making his loyal fans cry, and answering increasingly weird questions about his character's members.
His penis can fly too.
Though I want to talk about the backstories. One Piece has some of the best character backstories in all of anime. Some will break you, some will make you cry, some will make you laugh, and others, well, they don't really make you do anything, they just exist. So today, we're ranking every single backstory in One Piece.
I'm not kidding around, you hear me? I'm really mad!
Let's start where it all began. Luffy. His backstory in Chapter 1 is surprisingly hard-boiled for a shonen intro. We watch as Luffy learns the lessons of what it means to be an adult, whether that means the story of a scar, when you need to stand up for yourself and others, or that Lucky Roux can shoot a bum while still sanding meat down the old gullet. In addition to moral lessons, it sets up a world, introducing us to both devil fruits and a very minimal introduction to hockey. Oh, and before I rank all these, just a note, these are all ranked relatively to Oda's backstories, or else it'd be really boring because they'd all be in A or S tier. Anyway, with that out of the way, I think we'll give Luffy's backstory an A tier. Now this might be controversial, but the manga flashback for Zoro isn't all that special. We're only given about 7 pages compared to nearly a full episode in the anime. I do think it's powerful that despite Fate having bested Kuina, Zoro still carries on in her honor, but compared to the other Straw Hats, it seems a little disconnected to his character. Though, it isn't actively bad, so I think B tier.
Oh yeah, the captain told me to tell ya.
Surprisingly, Buggy the Clown is next. Man, doesn't that little brat's red nose remind you of something? That's right, the subscribe button. And much like Luffy, you just need to beat the life out of that sub button. Anyway, the backstory. It is really cool that we get to see Rayleigh and Gabon. Additionally, the parallels between him and Luffy both eating their fruits accidentally, well, because of Shanks, are neat, but they still feel a little lacking to me. I'm thinking a C tier.
Mom, we're saved! Dad finally came back for us! There you go with your wild imagination again.
Now this is probably what I was most shocked by. Usopp's backstory is only 2 pages long. Despite the length issue, it does a lot in about 100 words. They explain that Usopp lies not just for attention, but to try to bring hope to his ill mother. So, I think I'm feeling a B tier for this one.
That place must be a paradise for chefs like us. No matter how long it takes, I'm gonna find it!
It's not real.
This backstory is quite special to me. I think this is the first moment during One Piece when I felt, oh yeah, this is real cinema. We meet this wide-eyed but somewhat snobby Sanji aboard the ship, while the other line cooks are eating the scraps from the diners. Through a meeting with the pirate, Redleg Zeft learns the value of food and sacrifice, which informs his character for the rest of his life. He even goes on to affect entire arcs like Whole Cake Island. This story really resonates with me, and I'm going to preemptively adjust our tier list and add a Z tier at the top. So this one's going in that.
Nami!
Belmere is a great character. It is the first true character dedicated to the sole role of being the backstory character, something Oda has become quite fond of. It's also the first backstory with a backstory within it, like a backstoryception. We learn the lesson of found family in this backstory, which to me is an effective culmination of the East Blue, and we get one of the coolest page turns where Belmere jumps Arlong. And honestly, she probably could have taken him out there if she wanted to act fast enough. Although it is a little confusing to some for Belmere to out herself for having children, I've always just assumed Arlong would find them eventually and go after Belmere. So using this to teach a lesson made sense, at least to me. There's also a very clever explanation on why Nami is so obsessed with money and treasure, because she thinks if she had just a little more, it could have protected her mother. I love it when the backstories inform the character. Easy S tier. Can't be only me, but don't you miss when Chopper wasn't just a means to sell toys? I think I might be making a rant on that soon. Anyway, Dr. Hiriluk is such a peak character, dude, and this backstory is special. much like the mind of the Doctor. I mean, getting naked in the snow to convince Chopper he can save him? Buddy's got a hefty pair, which are definitely not that due to the unfortunate weather anymore. Regardless, this panel is special. Chopper went through everything to try and save his hero. Unfortunately, he's a little illiterate. I don't think they teach English in reindeer class. Then we get one of the single best speeches in One Piece. A man dies when he's forgotten. This backstory is great and informs us significantly about Chopper's character. S tier.
Look, Igaram. Vivi has made some new friends.
Now this is probably the most forgettable backstory. I hardly remember anything from this. Though in hindsight, Koza might be one of the most underrated cool dudes in the story. Also, Vivi's rebellious nature is fun. I mean, if we scale her, she went even with Koza, who is no diff an adult. She's kind of a boss. So much like this flashback, we will place this in the most forgettable tier, B tier. This backstory opens with this cold fella Kalgara destroying a ship with an ankle weight in some real Rock Lee fashion. Then we get another icy intro with Buddy wrapping up a sea beast in his natural habitat. This isn't really meant to be a sad backstory, but rather drop some lore. And drop some lore it does. Though we still get some badassery with Nolan killing God, while people attempted to sacrifice the girl. I think that Kalgara and Nolan's antagonism towards each other is really well written, between science and nature. Plus, the City of Gold may just be my favorite establishing shot in the whole series. Finally, the ending with Nolan the liar was pretty peak, so honestly, I think this one's an S tier for me. You should definitely check it out if you're one of those Skypeia skippers. Now I'm tempted to instantly give Frankie's backstory an F tier for the simple fact of his name actually being Flam. No, I'll actually rank it. I like Tom, and I think the end chapter reveal that he built Roger's ship must have been crazy to read weekly. And I'm glad we got a story behind the sea train. I think it made the latter chapters a lot better. Additionally, this stood out to me because we kind of see Frankie's entire life, which is quite rare. The only other person I can think of is Kuma. With the ending of Tom essentially telling Frankie to take pride in his work, particularly resonates with me. So how about an A tier?
Today is Robin's birthday.
Happy birthday from us at the library!
Do I even gotta say anything? This is literally the backstory. Z tier.
Hey, Brooke, how does that devil fruit of yours work?
Who knows? This is my first time dying.
Now, unlike Brooke himself, I think this backstory is a little overrated. It doesn't have the same narrative lessons and just sort of serves as a feel-bad man content for the audience. Though, seeing Brooke with Laboon in the final page of him counting down his band is very memorable. Then, while the Laboon stuff is heart-wrenching, most of the emotional weight comes from what happens after, not during the backstory. So this one is probably my hottest take. I'm honestly going to give this one a C tier. Despite this backstory essentially being placed on fast forward in the manga, I think it hits every character beat needed, like explaining why he went after Blackbeard for killing Thatch, or why he became Whitebeard's son, with some fan service like meeting Shanks with 2 arms, though the length really does hold it back, so B tier. Ace's story though is Z tier, so check that out after this video.
Hey, Squirt. I heard you spouting some of that pirate nonsense, too.
He's not a squirt, he's Sabo! We already made a promise over a cup of sake, so we're gonna be pirates someday whether you like it or not!
Doesn't he ever shut up?
After the adult Ace backstory, we get the adult sign language trio, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. We get one of the most underrated characters in Dadan, who did more damage to Garp than Blackbeard's crew, don't forget. Then we get the real panel of Ace, which is probably the coldest a 10-year-old has ever looked in One Piece. I really enjoy all these panels of Luffy trying to get Ace to like him. Very little brother-esque of him. We also get to meet Sabo, who's a little runt and just stealing money from the rich folk. He even has this incredibly well furbished secret hidey hole in his tree. We also get the reveal as Punching Bag Luffy, his secret form that even Crocodile wasn't able to see. Then, despite only having met little Luffy recently, his will to keep Sabo and Ace's gold secret inspired them to save him, which I think is a really cool reveal. There's Luffy learning to use his powers in one of my favorite gag panels, which maybe getting hit on the head like that inspired him to create Snake Man. You never know. Sabo's motivation is also done really well for becoming a revolutionary. Rather than simply being one because Dragon saved him, he sees how power and status can corrupt people, having made his family care very little for him as a person opposed to him as an heir. Even saying to Dragon himself that he was embarrassed to have been born a noble.
I'm ashamed of being born noble. I hate myself.
Goa Kingdom. Look what you've done to this child.
A neat subversion of something similar that Nami said in her backstory. Except this time, the kid's correct. The backstory's goal was to get the viewer to be excited for what would be Sabo's inevitable return. I think it did that with flying colors, effectively earning the reaction that Luffy has in Dressrosa, ending with both Ace and Luffy disembarking for their journey, with the turn back to present time being one of the strongest in One Piece. I'm still so weak. Easy Z tier. Coming out in 2011, the Fishman Island flashback story is really ahead of its time. But Oda usually is with this type of stuff, huh? This flashback here is significantly better in the manga. In the anime, they actually ruin the whole concept of Hodi's generational hatred and make it justified. I think both Fisher Tiger and Queen Oda Hime are great introductions to the story. The line, "We must take actions ourselves and strive to understand them," is very memorable when considering their circumstances. Though personally, I think it messes up the power scaling of Arlong a little bit. Assuming he's even relatively close to Prime Jinbei, he should be at bare minimum as strong as someone like Virgo and absolutely stomped East Blue Luffy. Though Prime Jinbei's design is forever tough, it makes the blue-haired one on the Straw Hats look kinda bummy. Side note, but this dude is like defo murking man, right? They get mad at Arlong for trying to kill innocents, but this dude has 2 guns? Oh, and the addition of Koala is super smart. It's honestly pretty impressive how fleshed out the characters are in that faction despite not spending much time with them. Dude, in this panel, actually sent a chill down my spine. This is the perfect dramatic twist, essentially putting the bomb under the table. In general, I think the ending is really well done, though I can't be the only one that feels offended when the Fishman calls the Tenryobito humans. Like, don't compare me to those ghouls, dude. I would give this a Z tier, but for the simple fact that this disgusting goon was here, I'm making an S tier.
Sorry, killer, but those sword blades are blunt so that we don't murder each other. That's not gonna stop me from breaking some of your bones, though.
The first backstory where it wasn't really for anyone in particular, but rather the entirety of Dressrosa, though this doesn't mean it loses its focus. The flashback is so efficient in making me loathe Doflamingo and backup King Riku. Generally just does its job very well. That slimy little rat Dofi. This gets an A tier, does the job well, but not as much character as the others, for obvious reasons.
You'll get better. So open wide, Law. Eat up and heal up. What are you waiting for?
If Robin's was the pre-time skip backstory, then Trafalgar Laws is the post-time skip backstory. Buddy, it's got Corazon. What else is there really gonna say? The single best backstory character in all of One Piece. Though I do really appreciate that despite the immense amount of torture that Law received in his life, we still get to see his happy moments with Big Cora, which makes the ending all that more depressing. Dude, in that moment with Virgo genuinely had me debating taking the revolver out. One of the few times I felt that empty feeling in my chest while reading any media. Then with new tears in my eyes, after seeing the I Love You panel, I'm gonna give this a Z tier.
You bastard! You did this to us!
Interrupting Law's backstory, we get the life of Don Quixote Doflamingo, which, aside from being one of the best written villain backstories in One Piece I've ever read, you completely understand Dofi. You feel bad for him, but you never think, yeah, he's definitely in the right for becoming a tyrant.
私が父親でごめんな。
And in such little space too, I'm gonna give this a well-deserved S tier.
I'm drenched.
What's so amusing? Aren't you freezing cold?
Bro, in just 5 pages, Oda really made me go to battle against anyone who clowned on an obese dude wearing a diaper, bib, and a soother. That's crazy! So Senor Pink's backstory is going in A tier. Now, I'm not sure if this is a hot take, but I don't think this flashback is as powerful as Sanji's first. Though I think it's neat that we have a canonical explanations for literally like all of his character quirks. Loving woman, only his mother and his sister gave him any affection until he was 9. Kind, all of his siblings' emotions combined into him. Cooks, because it would bring joy to others and was one of the only things to bring him joy while locked up. Though it makes me wonder how there are any Sanji haters. I mean, just look at him, dude. Also, Baby Reiju scales above East Blue Luffy. This flashback is going in Z tier as well. Big Mom's backstory is a bit of a nothing burger. Doesn't really make you feel much, but it does explain why Big Mom is such an insane freak. Because she basically got Yes Man as one of the naturally strongest beings. It is cool that this backstory gave us a little hint towards cannibalism, letting people get others' devil fruits, which at least to me confirmed how Blackbeard got the Gurugura no Mi. So I'll be giving it a B tier for boring.
Yo, samurai! Come, sorry!
Buddy, this flashback is special. When this was getting animated and a roof piece was happening, that was a special time, bro. I don't know what to tell you that hasn't already been said about this. This straight up felt like a movie with all the lore drops and every emotion felt. I don't think there's any backstory we get a moment as memorable as Roger clashing with Whitebeard, only possibly being beaten out by He Laughed. Meeting with Frankie again was funny too. Plus the ending with Odin being born to be bold was so Kino. This is an easy Z tier.
Where are you taking me, Father? I told you if I don't eat, I'm gonna starve. This isn't funny. Stop it. Let go.
The remainder of the Wano backstories, much like the arc itself, are rather rushed. It explains why they want to be Odin, but that's literally it, so C tier.
いいか刀は人切り包丁人を殺すために生まれる
Zoro too. Dude, remember when we thought Wano was gonna be Zoro's arc? LOL. This is like straight exposition, so I'm going with a mediocre C tier as well.
He'll pay for this!
What kind of joke is that? They had the strongest pirates in the world on their crew! I heard a marine named Garp took them out.
Now, this is the only bad backstory in One Piece. To me, this genuinely negatively affects both their characters. We get like a panel of character writing, almost to the point where he would have been better off without one. It feels incredibly unsatisfactory, and even worsens King's character. To make one of his motivations seeing Joy Boy and then not giving us a payoff is kind of Garbaggio story writing. F tier, bros. Finally, Kuma's. Now I'm not going to spoil anything for the anime onlys, but this backstory is special, buddy. It's like the Odin flashback with 10 times the emotion, and maybe even 10 times the lore drops. I mean, it's insane. You basically get to learn the entire story of One Piece from Kuma's perspective. It's crazy. This backstory means something to me. Z tier. So yeah, that's all the backstories. If you enjoyed this video, let me know what else to rank. I've done Devil Fruits and now I've done backstories. So I was thinking of doing crew gags. I feel like that would be a good tier list next. All right, so see ya. Thank you.